Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be on again. I've come with a very sensitive topic this time around, and I want to give thanks to my daughter Wendy neighbor. She's such an outspoken girl. She has actually pushed me, and by the time I'm coming out here, this is when I realized the reality of what she wants me to do. Because when I kept asking questions, she's like, "Mom, this is what I'm telling you. Somebody have to speak out." And so the title of my message is child molestation. And of course, all of us knows what child molestation is. Inappropriate touching, sexual abuse, torturing a child, especially in the absence of their parents, and doing all these wrongful things that they are not supposed to do with a child at a certain age. So I term it child molestation. And you know what it means and feels like a parent for you to know that your child has been molested, sexual abuse, wrongful touching, verbal abuse. I mean, those type of words, sexual words that they are not supposed to use around a child. It's not a good feeling, and it's not a good thing. And even the Bible does not tolerate it. And we just realized when they told me, "Mom, many are dying out there, and we need to speak out for some people," because she shared her experience when she was at the age of 8, something she had never told me. She was wrongfully touched, and the way I felt, the way I grieved, I know every parent will feel the same, will grieve the same. And when she tried to share her story out there, she realized that more than half of her friends that she shared her story with them said they had the same experience, yet their parents are not aware of, yet they haven't said a word. Many are dying, many are perishing. There is nobody to talk. People are dying in silence. There is nobody to speak out. Turning Point Outreach Global Ministry has come using my daughter and myself to speak out and to listen to those who have a story to tell and to help them how they could handle it. I will advise parents how I handle it as a parent. She will advise her friends how she handled it as a young girl and as a teenager right now, and how she feels about it. Of course, even the Bible says that in Ephesians 5 verse 11, it says, "Take no part in unfruitful work of darkness, but instead expose them." The Bible is asking us to expose the things that are not good, the things that are in the darkness. But we try to cover them, and we keep them quiet. And as we try to cover them, some people are suffering tremendously. Even in the book of Proverbs 31 verse 8, it says that, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rib of all who are destitute." Those people who are desperate. We should open our mouth for those who cannot talk. We should open our mouth for those who are desperate. And it also says in Proverbs 31 verse 9 again that we should open our mouth and we judge righteously, and we defend the right of the poor and the needy. The right of the poor and the needy in this sense is also talking about the people who have been molested, the people who are dying in silence. It's in the people who are suffering in pain, that it is affecting their lifestyle till today. And even when we talk in the book of Deuteronomy 22 verse 25, it's also saying that anybody that rapes a child, raping may be the inappropriate touching, the words that you are not supposed to use, and sexual rape. When you, a man, rapes a child, that child is not false. It's not called a sinner, but the person who is called a sinner is that man that has committed that act, because this child was forced into it. Which is therefore saying that if the child does not speak out, the child's behavior is changing, it's affecting the child's lifestyle, the child is dying in silence. Somebody has to speak out. Somebody has to come out and talk, so that this thing should be killed in our society. Turning Point Outreach is out here today. Outreach ministry is out here today to make sure this thing is straightened out once and for all. And even in the book of Matthew 18 verse 16, it said, whoever causes a child to sin, that person deserves to be carried a milestone and hung on that person's neck and thrown in the sea. Which means that even just regular killing is not even dangerous. It's not even punishable enough. But what is punishable enough is really carrying that milestone and hang it and throw that person into the sea to drown and be tormented. Because that person has done what is called an abomination, a crime against humanity, a crime against divinity. Yes, a crime that has brought mental trauma, depression, suicide feelings in an innocent child, heavy burden in their heart, and has affected their lifestyle forever. Until this child will have concern, this child will speak out, somebody will be there to talk to this child, somebody will be there to counsel this child is dying in silence. Yes. And what are the signs would you see? What are the things that will make you to know that a child has been molested? Sometimes this child will be having an inappropriate behavior around you. It will be touching themselves inappropriately. And sometimes the child will be bedwetting. This child will be bedwetting. And they will be afraid of the environment. If there is nobody around them, they will always be afraid. And there will be excessive worries. This child, you see them freaking out in the middle of nowhere. The least thing wants to happen. You see, they are worried, they are turning around, they are looking around. And sometimes when they want to remove their clothing, you see the way they are behaving is not normal. You can figure out that something is wrong. You see all the signs of trauma. All the signs of trauma that you can talk about, you will see them in the physical appearance of this child. But this child will not be able to speak out. We are coming out here today to say that this ministry is coming out powerfully to help the children who have gone through this molestation. Let them come to us and talk to us like spiritual people. People who have experienced it, like a parent that has experienced it, like a child that has experienced it. I mean, I was grieved. I cried out loud when my daughter told me something that happened 10 years ago to her. I cried out. I asked questions. It's painful. It hurts. And this thing completely affects children's behavior. I want to give my daughter an opportunity to tell you people how she felt and tell you people what she thinks, and then I'll be coming back to conclude.
Hi, my name is Wendy. I was sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old by an older quote-unquote cousin. And I'm not going to go into much detail. Like, if you've been through what I've been through, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I want to talk about how to respond to your kids or just anyone who comes out and tells you what they've been through. They're more than likely not going to be lying. I know a lot of young girls in the Cameroonian community, in this very African community here in Dallas, who've been through the exact same thing that I've been through. Like, they've told me their stories. Like, I know that what they've been through, and I want to give you advice on how to respond to them if they do come out and speak to you. If you ask them and they don't immediately say no, that's more than likely a yes, because they just can't come out and say yes. It is also important to make sure that you do believe your children and not immediately assume that they're lying, because it's more than likely that they're not, and you're just gonna further damage them. It's also important that if you try to hide it and you don't confront the person who did it to your child, they will continue to do it. Like, they will not stop, and they will do it to other kids in this very community, and nothing will ever be done. So it's important that you don't stay quiet about it. If you are someone that has been through this and you know that you can't come out and physically say it to your parents, write it down and put it somewhere that they're gonna find it, if you just can't come out and say it. Some stats show that 50 to 60% of kids in Nigeria will have some sort of sexual assault happen to them before they turn 18, and I'm also assuming that applies to Cameroon, because again, I know so many young Cameroonian children who have been through the exact same thing that I went through.
Thank you, Wendy, for that brief information that you have given. And as I said, I want to actually appreciate my daughter, because when she kept telling me, Mom, we need to go speak out, many people are dying in silence. And I was like, wow, we're going to expose people. It's like, you see, this is why I'm saying that we need to speak out, because nobody wants to expose nobody wants to say nothing, and many people are dying in silence. And when I went on my knees and I prayed, and God said, your daughter is right, something has to be done, because if we don't do it, the children that are coming up will still be suffering the same thing. Those people will still be hiding in secret and doing the same thing to other children. And I want to give one big advice. Be careful who you leave your children with. Be careful, because what I'm talking about is a grown-up man that I entrusted, a grown-up boy that I entrusted, I loved, I adopted as a son, and I left him, my children, under his care, even though there were big female children around the house. But this inappropriate touching actually happened. And I mean, it happens to children with their relatives, with their cousin. That is why you heard Wendy said it happened with her cousin, because we cannot even give this boy a different name. It's a boy that I adopted as a child. And so there is no better name we could give him than to say he is a relative. And you should be careful with who you leave your children with. I mean, stepfathers, step brothers, cousins, friends, neighbors. I mean, you have to be careful, because it is during this process of under caregiving that you have entrusted in somebody or in someone that this actually happens. TPOG Ministry, Turning Point Outreach Global Ministry, focuses more on youth. It's here to listen. It's here to make you speak out so that it does not affect your lifestyle. Because from the beginning, what happened, what I noticed is that my daughter kept telling me, I don't like to get married. I'm like, why don't you want to get married? But there was something hidden within her that she wouldn't want to tell me. But because I have made them to grow in the spirit, I've made them to grow in the Lord, I have connected them with God. Whoever they are today is not by my grace, but it's by the Spirit, because I only showed them the way that they should go. And because they are connected to God, she now knows that it's time for her to speak out to save many other children. And she tells me, Mom, when I talk to my friends, everybody is telling me they went through the same thing and their parents did not know. It's time for us to speak out. This is our contact. This is our contact in our ministry. Inbox us, call us. I will link you to Wendy. I will link you to myself. Parents, you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. Teenagers, if you want to talk to Wendy, you can talk to Wendy. Children, if you want to talk to her, you can talk to her. She's willing to listen. She's willing to advise you. She's willing to help you, give you the way out. And this issue, we are not going to end it today. We are going to continue with this topic. We will reach out as much as we can through conferences, through book writing, through the media, through every means we can reach out in order to help souls and families who are dying in silence. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, I want to give you this advice. Parents, don't freak out when you get the message. Take it easily and calmly, because I remember when my daughter opened up to tell me, I jumped up, I screamed, I cried. I was like, oh, I prayed, nothing happened. Something that happened 10 years ago, and I'm freaking out, I'm crying, and my daughter just walked away and went back to her room, and it didn't help me. And I had to learn how to compose myself and be calm and quiet and make her my friend and talk to her. I prayed about it and I talked to her. Parents, don't send away your child. Don't try to behave in a funny way that the child will not be willing to talk again, because when they keep it in themselves, the next thing is they can commit suicide, and it can affect their lifestyle. It can affect their future. which you will be missing in the wilderness. You will be wondering what is happening with this child, but it is just that one little thing that we would have just have patience, listen, talk to them, and maybe take them to a counselor that is going to help them. I just want to appreciate you all for listening. I love you all, but remember, Jesus loves you more. TPOG Ministry, reaching out to everyone in the society and changing lives.